Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy M.K.S here, back in a video. Excuse me. This is a bit of today. I hope to focus on anti-imperialism and my views of anti-imperialism and things like that. So this is a part of that wider discussion. So what I think is the case of reparations and all that kind of thing for countries that have been colonized. So I'd love to support what I call the Six a lot of time, or things like that, especially. So basically, indigenous people from Africa, Australasia, the Americas, all of the Americas, Asia, and Ireland, and also Latin Americans as well, although they probably were colonizers themselves. But developing countries or colonized countries, or a lot of time, those will go hand in glove. And unfortunately, at the moment in South Africa, there is a situation with a lot of riots and things like that, which I think is a terrible shame. And I think because they went through apartheid, and the white people who took over were a lot of time were like white supremacists, I suppose, and they believe they're superior to people of color. And I think that means that people of color should unite together to support South Africa for that reason, really. So yeah, to make up for like apartheid and also show that people of color can unite and support each other. So I think it's a terrible situation what's happening in South Africa with like riots, people looting. And I think that plays into the hands of white supremacists. So I think us people of colour should come together to support South Africa and invest in South Africa and encourage other people to do the same, like donate to South Africa and invest in South Africa and just generally support them, especially South Africa, but also, as I said, those groups I've just mentioned. So yeah, I thought I'd talk about another one of my list videos of ways I think we could support South Africa and things like that. So I think also I'm going to mention one more thing in the intro. I think that would cover everything. But yeah, so I don't want the intro to be too long, but I think that Jacob Zuma, who got arrested, which apparently triggered all these riots and looting and all that kind of thing, all these riots and all this looting, excuse me, I think he should, maybe they should give him a chance to address the nation, talk about bringing peace and like law abidance and things like that, encouraging people to obey the law, because again, I think like white supremacists use this to say that people of colour, especially black people, can't obey the law and things like that. So I think people of colour from both inside and outside of South Africa and around the world basically should support South Africa because of apartheid and encourage reinvestment into the country, just like investment was taken out because of apartheid. Now I think that investment should be poured back into the country through banks and encouraging banks and businesses to invest in South African education and supporting South African entrepreneurs, especially South African entrepreneurs of colour, black, Asian, mixed race, and that sort of thing, and even white South Africans who want to integrate and that kind of thing. But anyway, I'm going to go through my list because again, I don't want the intro to be too long. So number one, I think it'd be great, as I said just now in the intro, for people of color to come together and support South Africa together as one, and like show that we can be united and that we can be law-abiding and decent, smart or hard-working citizens, and we can work to make a honest and noble living and run our own businesses and things like that, and that kind of thing. Number two, I think that point number two, I think that as part of this, it'd be great to invest in the education and training and teaching of people across South Africa, especially in STEM subjects and also business, by providing those sorts of things, so people to go and either, if they're able to go and teach in South Africa about business and about STEM subjects and about empowerment and things like that, and peace and love and all that kind of thing, and teach what they can, especially, as I say, science, tech, engineering, maths, STEM subjects, in other words, but also enterprise and encouraging more entrepreneurs of colour or anti-apartheid entrepreneurs and that sort of thing. Number three, I think it'd be great to be able to provide free technology and training, again, to make up for apartheid and what was done to South Africans of colour, where they couldn't go to certain areas or run business in certain places or things like that. So I think it would make up for that history, and I think there's a case for it and a reason for it. It's not just giving free stuff for the sake of it. And like in the past, Barclays and other companies, Barclays Bank and other companies, supported apartheid apparently. So I think it'd be great if now they made up for this by putting the past behind them, but also doing so by via investing in South African entrepreneurs and giving like free stationery, equipment, tech equipment, training, education for schools, STEM in schools and things like that. I think it'd be great if Barclays and other banks, NatWest and others in the UK and from the UK and the rest of Europe and America and Asia and elsewhere invested in, as I say, training young South Africans, of especially ones of colour, black, mixed race, and Asian, and that sort of thing. So yeah, providing those free training and equipment and that sort of thing, or that free training equipment. Sorry. Number 4, again, I think it'd be great if leaders or people like Jacob Zuma talked about the need for peace. And I think it'd be great. I think Jacob Zuma could make himself a hero, and I think a lot of leaders become greedy, including in Africa, or especially in Africa, unfortunately, and Asia, I suppose, and around the world. And they want to make more money, but I think he'd probably feel better and more happier if he donated that money and talked about investment and the need for peace and became a hero by making South Africa work towards peace and prosperity, which could lead to more prosperity, especially if people are able to travel in the future through things like tourism and things like that, and also building things rather than destroying things, which I know I've talked about before. But I think that would be really cool for people to talk about peace, calm, coming together, obeying the law, and showing that black people and people of colour and mixed race people can achieve great things together, and work towards those things legally and that sort of thing, and prove white supremacists wrong, I suppose, which again is an incentive why I think this would be really good for people of colour around the world to do, especially, as I say, in South Africa. Number 5, again, I think it'd be great to encourage as many businesses, banks, investors, entrepreneurs, basically, and that sort of thing, investors, investment, and that sort of thing, into the South African economy as much as possible to benefit the nation. As I say, especially like donations by people of colour around the world to support South Africa, and like create perhaps buildings like the anti-apartheid building or things like that, or the investment centres or things like that, or training centres for entrepreneurs to make up, as I say, for anti-apartheid and things like that. Number 6, again, I'd love to see similar things done in countries like Iraq as well that were colonised, and working together, countries that were colonised or have been occupied or have been wronged in some way, to help maybe make them work together, like in countries like India and South Africa, and people of colour as well, and that sort of thing. And I think it'd be great to fundraise with things like sport, like as a fan of Italian football and Celtic, they could fundraise to help South Africa, as well as things like music and things like that, which could be used to fundraise for South Africa. Singers and entrepreneurs and people like that could help to raise awareness for South Africa, or just generally support and empower them as much as possible, again, to make up for apartheid, especially people of colour in particular, but just people generally who want to help those who are wronged in some way. Number 7, again, I think it'd be great if Celtic supported South Africa as a club, like donated football kits to young people, football training opportunities, and other sport like in technology or things like that, raising money as a Celtic family for South Africa, as they have done in the past. I think it'd be great to do so, especially in their hour of need, to cut crime and to build the economy and things like that for an oppressed people, which Celtic normally does very well. And I hope God himself will bless South Africa and those who support South Africa as much as possible, especially people of colour or those from diverse backgrounds or things like that, or areas where there's a lot of diversity. Number 8, again, anyone who's anti-white supremacist, I think, should support South Africa and prove white supremacists wrong, that people of colour can, especially black people and what they call coloured, which are mixed race people, show what we can do. And like even white people who are against white supremacy or hate or things like that, I think people who are against hate and are for love should support South Africans of colour, especially black, but also Asian and mixed race, who went through a lot during apartheid. As they're called coloured in South Africa. People who are not white or black, especially mixed race people, are called coloured. So I think it'd be great to support those groups, including my own mixed race community, supporting them as much as possible. Number 9, I think it'd be great to celebrate South African success stories and art, poetry, writing, and things like that South Africans have done, like to show what they can do, what they can achieve and contribute, just like when they hosted the World Cup and things like that, what they can achieve when they put their mind to it, and that white supremacists are wrong to say they're unable to achieve great things. So proving them wrong. Again, I think that requires South Africans themselves and Africans generally, and people of colour, especially black people, to come together and like end divisions and like talk about earning an honest living and cutting back on the looting and crime and division amongst people of colour, like a xenophobia against other Africans that live in South Africa, or Asians as well, that has been going on. I think it's really important to stop that sort of stuff. And number 10, I think it could be great to see investment again into the youth to give them opportunities for the future. So as ever, I'd love to hear your ideas, and I am out. Peace and love.